Hey guys, this is Chris, and today we finally get to talk about the new H123D. This is the Hubsan X4 jet, following the first little racer creation of the H122D X4 Storm. I'm going to do a video today to basically just be an introduction to the model, give you a look at it and discuss some of the things about it, and then the video after that will be more of a how-to, repeating some of the information, but more of a how-to of startup, how to do an IMU calibration, swapping out props. Maybe we'll look into the ESCs and stuff like that. And then the third video is going to be flight video, and that one will probably be later in somewhere around the release date of the actual H123D release date. Reason for that is I was given a number of these to give out to members of my group to go into my private testing group on Facebook and test it together. And what I'm going to do is they're going to give me some of their footage, and along with my footage, and I'm just going to put them all together into a video, and that way you can see the different levels of people using them and how they fly them, which I think would be a much better video than just watching myself fly, which I'm probably the least experienced out of everybody I have testing this with me. So that'll be the third video, and like I said, it'll be closer to the release date. Quickly, I don't do any unboxings or anything like that. I'm just going to show you what it comes with. It comes with 4 props on the quad. You get 4 spare props. You get the extra spare screws and screwdriver. You get Hubsan's version of a charger. I don't use these. If anybody needs one, just pay for shipping and I'll give you one. I have a whole box full of all the different chargers they've made over the years, the past 2 or 3 years. So if you ever need one, just let me know. Comes with 1 battery. Right now I have 2. They did send me an extra one for testing, so thank you, Hubsan, for doing that, because with the Storm I only got 1 battery, and a 6-minute flight testing that 1 battery was not fun. You've got the new controller. The new controller is the HT012D. It looks like a standard controller, but it's not. You're not spring-loaded here, which you don't want for a racer. Some people flew the H122D with a standard controller, which has a spring-loaded stick, and they said it was much more easier to fly. I never did it. I used their standard transmitter that came, or controller that came with the H122D. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but I got very bored with the H122D and I gave up on it. After testing was done and a few flights of checking things out that other people reported in the groups, after that I was done with it. So it just sits. There was just too many problems with it. It wasn't, there was no Acro Mode or anything like that, so I got more frustrated with it and just put it on the shelf. But anyhow, on the controller, I'm so happy they did this. First, I was disappointed when I saw this controller on the internet, and thought, what the hell are you doing, guys? This is not good. I thought they just put out a standard controller with antennas and took the spring out of the switch. It's not the case. This switch here is your different modes. It's a manual mode and an expert mode, which I probably will just not do that. I'll probably just leave it in 1 mode, because what that is, it's the same thing as if you were to go into the menu on, say, a regular standard controller, and it limits your right stick function to 60% or 100%. Your throttle will remain the same in normal mode and expert mode, but this goes from a 60% to 100% depending on what mode you're in. So you have that at a flip of a switch here. and then this one is a three-way switch. These are different flight modes, and it's labeled FMD, flight mode, and the first manual calls it mode 0, mode 1, and mode 2, just like the H011A does. But now I got a new manual, which I'm going to go over and show you all that as well. Now they're calling this Sport Mode 1, Sport Mode 2, Sport Mode 3, which is Acro. So yes, it does have Acro. Whether that's your traditional Acro that you're used to or Hubsan's version, it's still to be determined. It's an improvement. It's so much better than the H123D. Trust me, you're going to be happy with this quad. If you're expecting anything of a higher priced, comparison to a higher priced racer, that's your fault. For what you're paying, the company that you're buying it from, it being their second racer only, it is what it is, and it does what they say it'll do. That's what's important. If you're expecting to make this thing do more than what it does, and you're frustrated over that's your problem, because that's the mistake everybody makes. Just buy it for what it is and enjoy it for what it is. Hubsan did very well with this. I'm very happy with it. It's much stronger. I don't know what to say. It's bulletproof almost. I think I could slam this thing into a wall and it would be perfectly fine. It is just so strong and tough. I don't see anything being a problem. Maybe could chip and break the feet off, but your ESCs are covered up. The plastic on this is just really good and tough. It's a good thick plastic. The props have a nice flex into them to where they'll give on impact and hopefully not break off. Just very happy with it. They've improved the antenna. Before you had your 2.4 and your 5.8 going up in there. Now it's just your 5.8, and the 2.4 is within the frame. No more antenna sliding out and coming loose, so they did fix that problem. The other issue was the battery sliding around in the bay here, even though you had a strap on it. Now that doesn't happen. You don't have any bulky wires. Now you actually have a port to plug right into right here. And your charging plug has room to stay down inside there. So yeah, it's so much better in comparison than the 122. Besides, the difference in motors, so far I'm very happy with this whole build. Your camera is more concealed and protected on this. It's more wide open and not so protected. Hubsan has a 720p camera that is a better quality than the other. They have two types. This isn't confirmed, but this is just what I found in their different models. They have one that's lesser quality, which is, I believe, this one here. This one here, you can also tell the difference. It's a little bit larger. This is their better quality. They have some quads that have this style 720p camera in it. Puts out such a much better quality than the smaller one does. So with that, I think that's the problem in lag. Not just firmware, but the type of camera they're using. So far I didn't see any lag. I've got the cover still on it, but so the footage wouldn't have been great, but what I noticed on the screen, I didn't really notice any significant lag. With this, I noticed significant lag right off the bat, and it was just crappy. I'm not putting that down and being mean, but I mean, everybody knows this had its problems. The props are flying off, your battery slides around in the bay, the wires are all out and exposed. Your 2.4 wire is with the 5.8 and slides out very easily and breaks. The boards were smoking and burning up on these. So it had its fair share of problems everybody knows about, so it's not me just sitting here picking on it. It was their first attempt. it is what it is. So back to this. You have the lights in the front. You have your indicator lights, function lights in the back. It does have a beeper as well, and it's got the fail-safe. If you do crash or anything, the motors will just shut right off. The quick little flight I took, I buried it into the ground. I was trying to do a flip. I ended up just going just flat out nose down into the ground, more at a level like this. It pretty much just shut off instantly. I don't have a mark on the props. I don't have a mark on here. I ended up with a little bit of dirt in there that I cleaned out, but not a scratch or anything. Very tough. Speaking to Annie at Hubsan, they had some pretty good crashes too into a concrete wall and stuff like that, testing behind their warehouse, and all they did is make some little scuffs in it. No significant damage. And that's about it. Just give you a good little look on it. And then as for weight, it's a little bit heavier than the H123D, not very much at all. And the only reason being is the battery's larger. You have ESCs and larger covers. And I think that's where all your weight difference is. The size of it is a tad bit bigger, so there's some weight difference there as well. But that's about it. I've got a scale here. I'll show you the weight in grams and kilograms. So in grams, with a battery in it, you're at 142 grams. So kilograms, that would be 0.142, I think. Yeah, 0.142 kilograms. The Storm with a battery in it, you are 0.118 kilograms, so that's going to be 118 grams. It should be 118 grams. This scale jumps around a little bit, but that's the weight of them. And the battery, it's 7.6 volt, 25C, 980 milliamps. Still to be determined if that's a good sufficient battery. The C rating, I'm not sure about that. Here's your controller antennas. You have the new style 5.8 Hubsan panel controller antenna, and then you have a new style 2.4 gigahertz antenna. It's a larger antenna. What the dBi is on that, I'm not sure. I don't even think they have that in any specs, but that's a question to be asked later. And it does not come with the battery. The HT011A didn't come with the battery either. After some debate and complaining and going back and forth, they finally are selling that controller with a battery. So if this one does not come with a battery, which mine did not, I will push for them to put a battery in this as well. The quad comes with a battery. I think the transmitter should come with a battery too. The reason for that is some countries, it's just impossible to get batteries. So Hubsan, please put a battery in this and send it to people with a battery in it. Because it really stinks if you buy it, you forget to order a battery, or you try to find one locally and you can't. So there's guys out there in certain parts of the world that have a really hard time getting batteries. So just please, Hubsan, send it with a battery. I am using the battery that I use in my normal standard controller, and that's the 1300 milliamp 7.4 volt 2C. Fits in there perfectly, plugs right in. So again, Hubsan, please put a battery in the transmitter and ship it with a battery. Very important for people who have a hard time getting batteries. That being said, no spring in the switch. You've got the two-way, your normal and expert mode, and then you have your 3 sport modes. So let's go over that in the manual. Anything else I didn't cover? We got the price, $175 for this with the controller. Everything you see here. If you go back to the Storm, it was $89 at the base of just that and the controller. And with the goggles, it was $139. This is all US dollars. So $175, good price. I think it's a very good price for a racer or racer style with the transmitter. So with that, it's 720 high definition camera, 360 flips and rolls, blah, blah, blah. Real-time FPV, hopefully that means no lag. And your max flight time, 10 minutes. That was something that I was worried about as well, but I'm happy to see they got 10 minutes. The Storm, it was 6 minutes. So, depending on what mode you're in, that's going to change. Your lowest, easiest, simplest mode, where it's using the least amount of power, is going to be 10 minutes. Turn off the lights, which you can do just like the others. You just hold down the trim button and the lights are turned off. You're going to save your battery there. And flying in the lesser mode will save your battery. But if you're up in a higher mode with the lights on and all that, I don't think you're going to see 10 minutes flight. You're probably going to see something more like 8 minutes flight. But that's just my guess, my opinion. You'll find out when you get one or when you see other people flying them. So what else we got? I went over the battery. The charge time's 130 minutes. Distance 100 meters. That's fine. I'm sure you can probably get more with upgraded antennas, but for a racer, I don't need to be really more than 100 meters. And that's about it. Here's that, and I'm going to show you the guide that it came with. This is exactly what it came with, and it's called the Quickstart guide. All that had in it was how to do a horizontal calibration and how to hook it up to the HT011A, and it also shows you how to bind with the HT011A and what those key buttons and everything control. That's all this did. It didn't really give you any other information. Maybe how to put the props on and stuff like that, but that's it. It's basically exactly what it says. It's a quick start guide. I did not have any other kind of manual. Just yesterday, Hubsan finally sent me a PDF file of a full manual. So I have that, and I'm going to go over that. Real quick, let me just check my notes. We went over the transmitter model number. You can also use the HT011A. You've got adjustable manual camera angle, just like the H123D. I didn't show you this, but obviously all of them have it. You have, where is it? Where's the SD slot? Oh, right here. You have your SD slot right under here. That's the front right leg right under here. A little awkward to get in there, but it's protected. And then you have your micro USB port for doing your updates. That's that, and we went over the price. 10-minute flight time, 100 meters. Yep, went over everything. All right, so real quick, the two things I really want to go over are your different modes of these keys here. To start your engine, your motors, you're going to do the same thing where you pull out. To turn them off, same thing, pull out. Binding procedure is pretty much, it's the same, I believe, as what you're used to. If you have this with, say, a 501 model, your horizontal calibration is the same stick action as if you were to have a standard with the H501. So they're keeping it very similar and easy. To turn off your lights, you press and long hold this, it'll turn the lights off on the quad. I have not entered the menu with this yet, so that's something I need to try too, is to go into the menu and see a firmware version and all that. But what I want to go into here is the switches. So I'm American hand, and doesn't matter really for these two, but for this one here, it says D/R, and that changes your rates, your values for the right stick. So your normal mode and your expert mode, that's going to change it from 100% to 60% on this right stick. And this one here is your three-way switch. In this manual, they call it one thing, and then they changed it in the other manual. So your Quickstart guide, it's called Sport Mode 0, Sport Mode 2, Sport Mode 0, Sport Mode 1, Sport Mode 2. Now it's called Manual Mode, Sport Mode, and Acro Mode. So in the top position, it's Manual Mode. Now it's Sport Mode, and there it's Acro Mode. So basically, one thing it does is when you are flying in your manual mode and your sport mode, you're still flying under the gyro. If you put it into the third position, that cancels out the gyro, puts you into acro mode, and whether it does exactly what acro mode is supposed to do in most of your racers, still to be determined. So this was kind of a later after thought, the way they worded this and put it in the manual, and there has been some discussion back and forth with me and Hubsan as to the acro mode. So I really don't want to say too much on that because what type of acro mode it is or how it performs is kind of to be determined. It could change with firmware by the time this gets shipped out or shortly after it gets shipped out. So right now, until I get a lot more flights on it and video and stuff like that, then I'm not going to get really too much into the acro mode. But it does have acro mode. And through discussion with Hubsan and just on my little flight yesterday, I think you're going to be very happy with it. When I first got the H123D, I was happy with it. I said it wasn't a racer. Everybody pretty much agreed this is not a racer whatsoever. But again, in the beginning, I was happy with it. I got bored with it, put it on the shelf. Not so much being bored, but more frustration. This, I think you're going to love it. Anybody that is waiting to purchase this, or skeptical, or worried, or scared, or whatever the case may be, because you bought that and you got burned with the bad props or the burned out board and other frustrations, I'm going to say right now, buy it, get it, put your pre-order in right now. They did a very good job with this. Whether or not it's the racer you're expecting, it's going to be up to you once you get it and compare it to what you already have. But for Hubsan's second attempt at making an actual racer, I'm going to go ahead and say you have the title of racer. Is it the best racer? No. But now it finally qualifies to be called a racer. That's just my opinion. That did not get to be called a racer. That was a wannabe. So that's pretty much it. If you go with the HT011A, if you already have that transmitter and you want to use it, this is the setup that I would use. I have not done it yet, but you basically have the same DR in the FMD flight mode switches. You have your Sport Mode 0, Sport Mode 1, Sport Mode 2, and then your normal and expert modes. So same key functions as you have on the HT012A. You bind it the same way. You're not going to have orbit or follow me mode, but you're going to have your camera. So if you connect it with the HS001 and bind it to the racer, I think it's going to be good, except you have a spring-loaded switch here. So right here you're going to be at half throttle and it's going to launch. So that's something that you have to keep held down versus this one stays down on its own. So that's this setup. I have not flown it with this setup, but it's all ready to go for when I do. I'll read you exactly what it says for the modes real quick for this. Your normal and expert mode. Normal mode, throttle is 100%, and then your right stick is at 60%. And then when you're in expert mode, the throttle's 100%, everything's 100%. So that's the difference with this button here. Then your flight mode, you have three. You have manual mode, which is operating under full stabilization. No acro is possible. You have sport mode, operating under partial stabilization. No acro mode. No acro is possible, but flight is relatively flexible. So you have some flexibility there, I guess. It's a happy medium, I guess, is what they're trying to tell you. So then when you go into acro mode, you have operating with no stabilization. That's bypassing the gyro, basically. Acro is possible and flight will be very flexible. It says acro is possible. It's not saying you are in acro mode. So that's why I kind of questioned it with Hubsan. And I get different answers, so that's why I'm not comfortable going too much into the discussion of acro until I fully test that mode. And that's where most of my concentration is going to be in my testing. This is acro mode and FPV lag. Those are the two big things that I want to see happen properly. So that basically explains it, and that's why I am lacking and giving you too much info and saying too much about the acro. I don't want to misrepresent it. I don't want to be disrespectful to Hubsan. And I don't want to say one thing and then have it change tomorrow and be something different when they ship it out. So that's that. We have pretty much gone over everything you really need to know. Again, this thing is not a disappointment so far at all. They did a good job. You've got your brush, I'm going to say it all again, you got your brushless motors, you've got some good props that have just enough flex in them to where they have the performance, and they don't break easily like the regular plastic ones of the H123D. They have a nicer camera, I think, anyhow, and you've got some pretty good angle that you can set that at. They've improved the antenna and put it 2.4 on the internal. They've added a plug-in port so you can just plug directly into it. It is a battery that you can hook up to a balanced charger. As you see right here, you have both your wires so you can balance charge it on whatever smart charger you have. It's super tough. I could take this thing and chuck it into the wall right now and it'd be perfectly fine. I don't want to do that because I still have other videos I gotta make. So, yeah, Hubsan, it's a win. I think you did a very good job. Again, it is what it is. I know what I've got here. I know what it's capable of. Expecting any more, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. So, for that, I'm very happy with it, and I think I'll continue to say that as I continue flying it and testing it. I'm glad this was not a disappointment. I was very concerned that it was going to be a disappointment. When I first saw this controller, being the controller, when I saw it on the internet, I was like, Hubsan, what are you doing? And once I got it in my hands and saw what the difference is, I was very happy with it. So Um, real quick, let's go ahead and turn it on. You got to at least hear it, right? Okay, so it's turned on by the press of a button. See, here we are. We're already getting into a tutorial how-to, which is supposed to be my next video. But you got your front light. If you long press down that, it turns off. And I don't know how well you can see, but so far, if I do this with the H122D, I get lag. Give you a shot of this is my dining room. And a big old house. But yeah, there's your video. And it tells you your different modes. You probably can't see this real well, but it says Acro Mode. Hopefully I'm in the frame here. It says Acro Mode, Sport Mode, and Manual Mode down there at the bottom. And it doesn't show when you're in the different modes here, but I'll show you the sticks. Watch the scale here. That's 60%. Then you flip it, and then you're at 100%. 60% up and down, 100%. So 100% I think is pretty much where I want to be. At a comfort level, 60% might be what you want. But just remember, your turning and stuff like that is going to not be tight. And that's about it. Let's fire it up. I'm gonna hold it down, and we'll give it a little punch here. It's got a nice little sound to her. So it's quieter than the Storm was, but it's still got that nice little zing to it. So very happy with this thing, and I hope you are too. If you have not put your pre-order in, I strongly think you should, because if you know anything about Hubsan new releases, is they do this. They do a production of a certain amount, and they send them out to distributors, and then they go kind of down for a while to where they don't have any available. So all these pre-orders are going to get filled, and then my prediction is you're going to have a period of time where you're not going to be able to get this thing, because they'll do a production, play it safe, and see how it sells, and then restock the shelves for their website and for sellers. So if you did a pre-order, or if you do a pre-order now, you're one of the smart ones. If you do not do a pre-order, I think you're going to have a longer wait, because like I said, it's going to be unavailable or coming soon, however they put it on the website. All right, guys, thanks again for viewing and subscribing to my channel. This was really a long-winded one. I don't know how much time I've got into this at this point, but I tend to make these go a lot longer than they really need to be. And hopefully you watched the whole video and you picked up some good information. Those of you who just skimmed through it and did not watch the whole video, or probably aren't watching now, if you ask questions where I've already discussed it, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to answer. I have a full-time job, and then I run my Facebook groups and do all my testing and stuff for Hubsan. I'm very busy. I try to answer everybody's questions I can, comment, like, whatever, anything you do on my channel. I'm pretty far behind right now, but if it's stuff that's in the video, I'm just going to stop answering. And I'm not being rude or disrespectful with that. It's just when I watch somebody's video and I comment on it, I make sure that I am asking them a question that they didn't take the time to provide for me in the video. So that's it. I'm not going to say any more, but thank you. Thanks again for subscribing. For more future new Hubsan content, which so far I've been able to deliver. Anything that they've come out with new, I've been able to deliver it to you pretty quickly, if not first. I'm not showing you a video of just a copy of the video they already put out. That's pretty much the only thing you're seeing on YouTube right now. But until the next video doing the how-tos, whatever quads you have, enjoy them. Get your pre-order in for this one and enjoy it. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.